Now welcome to another edition of News from Naboo with Thor's Lightning Takes. And let's get right to the news.
Alright, first up, interesting news. Dave Filoni says his Star Wars film will be built around an era-defining event.
Huh. It's almost like a sequels before the sequels. Will this event have Luke, Han, and Leia, and Lando, and others?
What do you think?
Yes?
No, probably not.
You really don't think so?
No.
Really?
Of course I don't think so. He's making a mandoverse movie. Why would it be about Luke, Han, and Leia?
Because how are you going to have an era-defining event? What are they doing during the era-defining event?
Well, if you let me, talk and read the article and stuff instead of speculating about a title.
Today is news from Thor, or speculation from Thor.
Well, Star Wars films have always kind of been about epic journeys. Even Dave Filoni's Star Wars story is kind of epic in its own,
It is.
Storyteller handpicked by George Lucas to steer the Clone Wars, studying for years at the side of the Master himself, then going on to create his own corner of the galaxy with Rebels and moving on to live action with Mando.
I love the story.
Ahsoka.
I love the story of how he was hired. Look it up if you've never heard it. It's interesting.
Thor doesn't want to tell you.
Well, it's actually not that long. He basically went in for an interview. He thought because he talked to George himself, thought he blew it, walked out, and yep, you're hired. Anyway.
Long story.
He tells it a little better than I do. Go figure.
Probably. And now he's directing his first film, tying the Mandoverse together, trying to unite characters that he's obviously built in this world. I mean, we've got Din, Ahsoka, Thrawn.
Luke.
Luke is not a big Mando story person right now.
I think he is. He's had the coolest moment of the Mandoverse so far.
Speculation has already begun, apparently starting with you.
That's why I'm here.
I mean, it's probably going to be another step into the Mandalorian, Ahsoka, Thrawn story. A culmination, maybe, some could say. But Filoni says that culmination is an interesting word. The way I look at it, there are small stories, and then there's the big story of the day, too. A New Hope, Empire, and Return of the Jedi tell the important parts of a tale that really define the history of the period. There are all kinds of sub-stories underneath that. We've been building all these small stories.
So, a bunch of little stories is going to be an era-defining event?
No, well, he's saying that they build stories around these big events. Like the Disney Plus series, they kind of establish characters. They've been establishing the New Republic, the era that they live in. So now he's saying they could maybe make a story that's fit for the big screen that defines the New Republic post-OT, pre-sequel.
ST?
Yeah.
Okay, so this 30-year period, it's going to have its own little big event.
Its own little big event, yes.
With Han, Luke.
No, you stop talking about... They're doing their own thing. They're busy
with
with
other
other
stuff. What are they doing? I want to know what they're doing.
Lots of stuff. Some are raising a family, looking for Jedi temples. Stuff.
I want to know what Mando and Ahsoka and everybody else are up to too. But I'm kind of curious.
Well, you can remain curious then until the books and comics fill it in for you.
But they don't really do a good job.
Tough. Dave said, "To me, a theatrical experience has to have a big idea, a monumental moment that, in the time period, changes what's happening. What Tony Gilroy has done in Andor." And what we did in Rebels, everything then changes when Luke blows up the Death Star. We're looking for those moments that define an era, and that's what these films really should be about, whether it's characters coming together or a defining moment.
I guess what I'm curious about is how do you have a big defining moment that isn't impacting the sequels between...
Because they're not going to be in this universe, remember? We're going to the new... Beyond and stuff.
But then that's not really an era-defining event.
It could be.
I mean, it's an era-defining event, but it's not like the same galaxy.
Maybe it's just era-defining because of the fact that it's a culmination of... If it's era-defining maybe for us, the audience, rather than era-defining for them in characters.
I guess. I'm simply saying if something big happens, and I'm just kind of having a bit of fun here, so really, I know I'm just kind of poking you a little bit today.
Just here to give
the news. I know, but I'm saying if there's this giant event that happens between the two trilogies, you would think it would impact the sequel trilogy, right? You think we would not necessarily even hear about it, but maybe even indirectly have felt it, if that makes sense.
Because we're going to zigzag right around the sequels by following our new group into the new beyond, and they'll come back after.
Well, sure, because the only thing I could think of that would be kind of impactful to the sequels that would make sense is how the First Order and the New Republic become,
how they
at a standoff as an armistice, as we know.
How come there's an area of space that's cordoned off as the First Orders?
So I guess I'm just curious if that's where we're headed with this. Which seems to make sense, bringing in Thrawn, remnants of the Empire, and so on.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Thrawn entering play is huge. He could possibly be helping orchestrate the fall of the New Republic from a distance. There's lots of legends, canon material to draw from, including things like the return of the military base Tantus in The Bad Batch, which was taken from Timothy Zahn's Heir to the Empire novels.
Indeed.
I mean, with them bringing that up, what's to say that's not somehow involved in all this anyway? We don't know. What we do know is Dave says, there are little things along the way that I've built across different mediums, all in preparation for things that will come later. He is starting the speculation train right there, because now it's like, look at everything Dave has made! Find the breadcrumbs!
Did he learn nothing from The Force Awakens where we looked at everything and were wrong because nothing made sense anyway?
Well, maybe it's because the director's changed.
I know. I'm joking.
You could have been right, and then he's like, nah.
Well, no, it's because the two directors really weren't even working together on any sort of plan. So, in this case, the same person has had influence across all those different pieces of content. So there can be connections that maybe we should look for.
I mean, a lot of this new information is coming from the upcoming Empire issue. Comes out on, Thursday. It's the Secret Invasion issue, but there's apparently a 20-page Star Wars blowout section. I need to get my hands on this.
It's called Empire, and it's the Secret Invasion edition. I'm already seeing the clues.
All right, we're going to move on. On May the 4th, we all know Carrie Fisher was honored at the Hollywood Walk of Fame ceremony. She got her star. Just sad, it was post-mortem.
Yes.
Well-deserved. The ceremony did attract a large crowd. I mean, we had speculated about who would show up and support. Her daughter, of course, was there. And so was Mark Hamill, who stood beside her the entire time as she accepted the star on her mother's behalf, wearing a Princess Leia dress. It had Princess Leia on it. It was pretty. It was very covered in glitter, because Carrie Fisher was known to have been throwing glitter at fans during events. It was a thing she liked to do. Billie Lourd even dumped glitter on her mom's star. She sprinkled glitter over it.
Very cool.
Yes. Speaking with StarWars.com, Lord, who, as we know, also played Lieutenant Connix alongside her mother in the sequel trilogy films, she kind of talked about her memories of the fandom when she was a child, when she attended events with her mother. She said, "It was the first time I realized how widespread and deep people's love for Leia was. People waited in line for hours just to meet her. People had tattoos of her. People named their children after her. People had stories of how she saved their lives. It was a side of my mom I'd never seen before. It was magical."
Can you imagine how strange that is to be a child and you see your mom, obviously, you see your mom virtually every day and interact with them constantly, and here people are lined up just to speak with her for a moment.
But to you, she's just mom.
Just mom, yeah. That's got to be so strange.
Yeah. Mark Hamill, he said a few words. He said, "Today, May the 4th, will be Carrie Frances Fisher Day. She was so charming, so funny, so adorable, so wise beyond her years, and brutally frank." I mean, Lord's speech at the event was so beautiful. It was a special moment for everyone who got to hear her talk. She talked about her mother with so much love and reverence. She said, "I have fallen deeply in love with Leia and the entire Star Wars universe. I sob when I watch The Mandalorian. I have a lightsaber lamp in my living room and X-Wing tiles in my bathroom. People's love for Leia didn't die with my mom. It continues to get passed on from generation to generation, just like my mom passed it on to me. My mom was glitter. She left a mark of her sparkle on everyone she met."
Very well said.
Very well said. It was a beautiful story. All right, we'll move on to the last story today. There is a Star Wars game rumored to be in development. Yes, another one. An RTS game.
Another real-time strategy. Curious. I haven't played one of those in a while.
I mean,
for Star Wars, except for that weird one that was mobile a few years ago, 5-6 years ago.
Oh yeah, I remember that one.
I think I played that a couple times. I was like, nope.
And then it disappeared.
Yeah.
Supposedly this is going to come from a big name developer. This is not related to the previously announced Star Wars strategy game that's coming from Respawn. I mean, take this whole rumor thing with a grain of salt, as usual. It comes from reputable gaming industry sources that believe the unannounced project is well in development.
Cool.
In January of 2022, it was announced that Respawn, the company behind the 2 Jedi games, was collaborating with a newly formed company called Bit Reactor to make a new Star Wars strategy game. This is different from that game. It appears to be more in line with the RTS genre, not whatever they're doing.
Well, that'd be cool. A new RTS.
Rumors are stating that this could possibly be the spiritual successor to the game Star Wars Empire at War that many fans have wanted for years. A lot of this rumor comes from Twitter, where Games Radar editor Josh West shared an article about the best Star Wars games people can play now, an article which did feature the game Star Wars Empire at War. West was sad that there wasn't a sequel to the 16-year-old game, to which Andy Robinson, owner and editor of Video Game Chronicle, replied by hinting that a new Star Wars RTS game isn't far away. And then West went further and asked whether or not Robinson meant the new strategy game in development at Respawn and Bit Reactor. Robinson then claimed the game he was referring to has yet to be announced. So, maybe another game in the works.
Seems like there's so many games in the works.
Always games, always in the works.
But what about Hunters?
What about Hunters? I read the book. Go there. Now I need to play the game.
I haven't read the book yet. It's been sitting on our table for I don't know how long.
Pro wrestling in Star Wars. That's as close as you've gotten right now.
I don't think I ever have. No.
It was actually kind of hilarious, the book, in a weird off the wall kind of way.
Yeah, I will get to it.
I'm sure you will.
It's when you chuckle at it and laugh and go, it's like wrestling. It hasn't encouraged me to like. Not that I have nothing against wrestling.
See, I just read the books that you don't.
Well, I kind of read them all eventually.
Eventually.
Some of them take me. Some of them take me a little longer to get to or through. Some I blitz through in a day.
Rebel Rising.
Yeah, that's
still on your list of books you're gonna get to.
No, I read that one.
Oh, you never told me you read that one?
Well, because there was nothing to talk about. It's the Jyn Erso. This is the Jyn Erso time with Saw Gerrera and such. She's a very capable young lady, we'll say. Ugh. All right, well, that is going to be all we got for you this time. So now it's your turn to take to the comments below and tell us what you thought of any and all of today's news. And let's talk some Star Wars. And until next time, thanks for watching.